Hey guys, welcome to Priceless B Movies. I'm your host Colin Price, and I meant to do this video a while ago. How long ago, you ask? Well, I had initially wanted it to be done and posted back in October, right before Halloween, because I thought it would really fit that. And then when I didn't reach that deadline, I was like, well, I don't really want to wait till next October, so I'll get to it when I get to it. And then life happens. Well, here we are. Something Wicked This Way Comes. Something Wicked This Way Comes came out in 1983. It is a horror film released by Disney. No, I didn't stutter. It's a horror film released by Disney at a time when Disney, let's just say they still had some balls attached to them. This was back when a PG rating meant that you could get away with quite a bit more than you can in a PG rating today. And it is the film adaptation of one of my favorite books. The film stars Vidal Peterson and Sean Carson as Will Halloway and Jim Nightshade. God, that's such an awesome name. And they are two kids growing up in Illinois many, many decades ago. And there is a carnival that comes into town, but it's coming into town in the fall, which obviously is strange. Most people think of carnivals as a summer activity. And they decide they're going to check this thing out. Won't go into too many details about the carnival itself, what the different rides, attractions are, some of the characters who are involved. I really want to talk about a few people because this is a movie where there's a lot of elements and a lot of characters going on. It's one of those where it is based off a book and the movie does not get to include everything, but it does include a lot. And for one review, I can't just spend 5 to 10 minutes talking about 20 different characters. So I'll keep it as short and simple as I can. But the carnival is run by a character named Mr. Dark, who's played by Jonathan Pryce. And he is, for lack of a better term, at least the way that the story is treating him, he's basically Lucifer. This is a very Faustian thing that's going on with this story. When people go and visit this carnival, in one way, shape, form, or another, they are confronted with their desires, their dreams, and they're kind of lured and sucked into this very demonic thing that's going on. And these two kids catch wind of this and they realize what's going on. And of course, they're trying to figure out how to stop it, how to make it go away. What are they going to do? Will eventually trusts in his father, played by Jason Robards, one of that actor's best performances. And he is the town librarian, and he tries to help the boys figure out how to make the evil go away. As far as plot line, that's as simple as I want to keep this, because there are a lot of things. I could talk about this movie for a long time. I've seen it many, many times. I grew up with it, just like the book, I grew up with it. The book was even a big deal for me. I don't talk about this kind of stuff on my YouTube too often, but I was a high school dropout, and then I eventually got my GED because I didn't perform well in a classroom environment. And this book is one of the things that kind of saved me, because I watched the movie, fell in love with the movie, and I read the book, and then I did a thesis on the book. And based on the strength of that, I was recommended for this GED program. So it was partially responsible for getting me back into education so that I could finish my high school education after I dropped out. So that book is very important to me. I won't be as critical against the film for leaving out parts of the book, because I do think that for 1983, this is probably the closest you could get to capturing the elements and the feel of that story without sacrificing. In fact, I do think the movie sacrifices a little. We'll talk about that later. But starting off with the strong points, there is a lot of imagination in this. It's Ray Bradbury. There's a lot of imagination in this, a lot of wonderful performances. I think if you are a grown-up in your 30s or 40s and you watch this for the first time, don't let the fact that this is a Disney film from the early 80s dissuade you or make you think it's going to be kiddie stuff. It is not. There's some very extreme and intense sequences in this movie. I will say that I don't think this movie could be made by Disney now. And I think that if a new adaptation were to be made, in this day and age, it would be shit. It would be like done as a young adult story. Will and Jim wouldn't be kids anymore. They'd be like, 18, 19-year-olds, played by 26-year-olds. And, the carnival would be some kind of AI virtual reality thing. This is not a movie for a remake. It's really not. It is of its time, about a point in time that I don't think could easily be replicated in a way that would capture audience imagination the way that I think this film does. Performances are very strong, especially from Jason Robards and from Jonathan Pryce, who is one of my favorite underrated actors. Anytime that Jonathan Pryce is a villain, I'm game. I'm on board. Whether it was this or the Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies, any number. I know that a lot of people today would know him as Governor Swan from the Pirates of the Caribbean films, but to me growing up, he was always the bad guy. So I had a very different experience with him, especially after this movie. I will also say, for pros, that this film has probably one of the best scenes of any Disney movie that's not animated, and possibly in the horror genre, period. And it involves Jonathan Pryce finding Jason Robards in the library, and without getting away spoilers, because this happens pretty late in the film, but the conversation they have, and to watch these two actors kind of spar and play off each other during the scene, gives me chills every time I watch it. It's one of my favorite scenes in any Disney film and in any horror film. I could almost recommend this film just off of that sequence. But it's too bad that this movie has a couple of problems too. Mixed elements. Mr. Dark does have a companion named Mr. Cougar, and his part in the book is quite a bit bigger, and I do kind of get it. As a film, you can't just have these two primary antagonists going at it. Mr. Dark is very clearly the more strikingly evil of the two, but Mr. Cougar kind of gets sidelined in this a little faster than I would have liked him to, especially after reading the book and seeing how the book handles that character. Also, the Dust Witch, played by Pam Grier, the incredibly gorgeous Pam Grier, is another character who I think she has some very effective scenes in this movie. I would have liked a little more with her because of how scary she is. That being aside, the negatives, this film had a lot of production issues, mostly having to do with reshoots, and its two primary actors were kids. And they waited a good deal of time to do some of these reshoots, and so there are scenes where these two boys are noticeably older. And at least for me, every time I watch the movie, it kind of takes me out a little bit. There's a sequence in particular involving a bunch of spiders surrounding these two kids in a room, and they are noticeably older. And what really infuriates me about this scene is that the movie didn't need it. This scene does not push the movie forward in any way, shape, or form. At this point in the story, the kids already know what's going on. They're already creeped and freaked out. So I have no idea what narrative purpose this sequence had to justify itself. But for it to be a reshoot, it's like, at that point, why would you reshoot it? Why would you just be like, you know what? They look a lot older now than they did before. Do we really need this scene? Can we just drop this scene, or can we shoot something else instead? I just don't know why that decision was made to reshoot a scene where not only do these boys look noticeably older, but it doesn't really serve a purpose existing in the movie. That puzzles me every time I watch the film. Once again, I could talk about this movie forever, but for the sake of not boring everyone out there listening, maybe at some point I'll do like a lengthy introspective or something of this film. But for now, I think I'll leave it at this. Something Wicked This Way Comes is one of my favorite movies, though I can recognize its flaws and feel its flaws every time I watch it. But from nostalgia and from how much I love the book, I can't give it 4 out of 4. I can't. I got to address these flaws the way they are, because I'm sure there are a lot of other people who catch this stuff too and who are bothered by it. I'm going to give Something Wicked This Way Comes 3.5 out of 4 stars. I do highly recommend it. It is finally streaming now. If you have Disney Plus, you can watch Something Wicked This Way Comes in Blu-ray quality. For the longest time, you couldn't find a copy of this movie outside of the DVD. And now we can. So it's time for all of us to enjoy it. I highly recommend it. If you like horror, if you like nostalgic horror, if you like Ray Bradbury, check out this movie. It is worth your time. That's my review of Something Wicked This Way Comes. Stay tuned for more Priceless B movies.